So today I thought I would talk through my process of designing the king for the forest area, basically the kind of end boss of the forest area of my game. And as you can see here, I'm actually sketching out what he is going to look like because I want to have a rough guide of what to do when I'm actually going into Sprite and drawing the pixel art, basically the rough shape that I want him to be and what I'm actually drawing and all that. So it's always handy to have a rough sketch of what I'm actually aiming to turn into pixel art, rather than going into the pixel art blind. So this way I can figure out all the shapes and everything. And as you can see, I have quite a sketchy art style. I'm used to drawing traditionally, so whenever I draw digitally, it always turns out this kind of messy, sketchy look. And I'd probably neaten up the lines and all here if it wasn't for the fact that this was basically just something to kind of reference a pixel art drawing off of. So I then bring it into Sprite. And the first thing I do is I compare it to the actual size of the original character, and then I put down the basic shape. So I know what kind of height I want the actual character to be in comparison to the main character, and what kind of size I want them to be compared to the main square. So this is the point then when I start putting down basic colors and a rough kind of outline of the character. Not quite a finalized outline, but the rough outline. And a little bit of shading as well, a few highlights to actually kind of pick out the details, based on the sketch that I did earlier. And adding little things like some, well, I'm not sure if you could call it hair, but that's what it's sort of intended to be. But then I pick out a couple of more details like eyes, and I do go back in with that darker color that I used to draw the outline actually, because it's a good color for some of the details. And then a little bit more highlighting, and now is when I really start to bring in the littler details like the leaves and the like. So I start to add a few little leaves, and more importantly, a bit of shading on the leaves now, as you'll see in a second, because the shading is what really brings that sort of mossy, leafy look to life, I think. The little darks and the highlights really bring out that kind of leafy look. And of course, can't forget the leaves in the hair as well. Have to pick out those little details. And more specific facial features as well, kind of detailing in the face a little bit more as I go. And at this point, I am sort of tightening up the outline a little bit, picking out details I don't like and fixing them up a little bit, making them a little bit nicer looking, fixing any colors, any bits I missed out on, that kind of thing. Just kind of improving the overall image, although there's a lot more to go, even though I may not have realized that at this point. So I added a little bit of outline to the hair as well because it wasn't quite standing out enough. Not necessarily to the leaves because that would probably be a little bit too much, and it should already stand out against the background enough. But now at this point I'm basically going to add a little bit of animation. Now, unfortunately, I decided to change the colors after I did the animation, so that's still to come. But I basically just decided to do the basic idle animation for this, so I wanted it to just have sort of a little subtle look of going up and down. Unfortunately, that is sped up in here, so it looks really silly, but I'll show the proper normal idle animation at the end of this video. But basically, I just wanted a subtle look of the character kind of bobbing up and down, a normal little comfy idle animation, only 2 frames because I keep all my idle animations around 2 frames because it does limit the workload for me. At this point I thought, what if she has some like leaves to circle her? And I don't really, well, I know what I was thinking, I know what I'd imagined in my head, but I think it just got too busy. And when I saw how kind of busy the leaves looked, I was very much like, no, this isn't what I was going for. So I think I do take those away at some point, because it was just a little bit too much. And I think it looked nicer and cleaner and simpler without it. And sometimes when it comes to pixel art, you have to decide that. Now, as you can see, I decided to change the colors because I realized that the character wouldn't have stood out enough with its current color with the current background color. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to just make the whole thing a little bit lighter. And unfortunately, that meant I had to redo the shading on both things because I did now at this point have a darker tone to shade it with, which was the original tone that I had the main character done in. So I redid all the shading, and one of the problems with that is that I did have to actually figure out where did I shade and how do I make it not look like it's sort of zipping back and forth, because sometimes there are weird little segments that just scream out to me like, oh, this was here on the last frame, but it wasn't there on the frame before. So yeah. And at this point I thought, you know what? They are, well, I haven't decided if they're a king or queen yet. I don't know. They're a tree, so you know, I'm not certain yet. I haven't actually decided. But it's kind of giving queen vibes. But I decided anyways that they needed a crown. Now, I kind of went for this crown in the wrong angle to begin with. So here is the wrong angled crown. And I did realize that then, and I thought, oh, need a crown that's actually facing the same direction as the character. So I then redrew the crown facing, again, the correct direction for the actual character itself, and added a few little gems and some shading and all that. And I thought it would be kind of cool if the crown had a floating effect at first, but I kind of decided maybe against that because it was kind of just a little bit weird looking. So I decided to just place it on their head. So here is the finished look of the king slash queen slash tree end boss for the forest area. I'm excited to get a few more animations done for this, but I have to actually design all the moveset for them and decide what I want those animations to actually be before I actually make them. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know it's been a while since I made a video. I went on holidays and I didn't have anything filmed before I went on holidays, and then I have been stopping myself from filming after, so I thought I'd just make a time-lapse video showing a little bit of what I'm doing currently. I'm also working on a keybind system, which is taking me quite a while, but it should be a pretty expansive keybind system that allows you to actually bind the controls as you like, and overall I'm working pretty much on improving the control scheme of the game. So thank you so much for watching as always, and hopefully I will see you again soon.